and Jorina for having me here today.
And of course, Ma'am Mary, thank you for having us also in this afternoon session. It's also a Saturday for you too, right? So before we start, what can we gain from joining us this afternoon?
So for today's topic, we'll be talking about the future of HR. And when I had a conversation with Sir Bong last week, mentioned, okay, your session is more towards or around behavioral aspect of the future of HR. So I'll be speaking a lot more around leadership and it's important as an HR professional, behavioral aspects and organizational, how you and you have the organizational alignment as well as in practice it. I hope you don't mind me speaking in English more than in Tagalog because I would love to share later on to my global audience.
No worries at all. We can do that. And of course, without further ado, take the floor, Miss Marilyn.
So much. Let me just um share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Let me just- Okay, so for everyone, can you actually mute the microphone who doesn't have a question or who will not be speaking? I will request you to please your microphone. Thank you. So, okay, you're seeing my presentation slides now, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So, everyone who's joining us today, what are you seeing in the future in the picture? If you can actually like describe what you see in the photo in one, how will you actually describe it? Engage, success, yes, success, teamwork, yes, interactive, unity, achievement. You will see me looking on the other side because I cannot see my chat from my current laptop. So brainstorm, of wellness, camaraderie, yes. So thank you so much for those who are participating in our chat. Please keep it coming. And for me, what I'm seeing in this picture, the reason why I chose this very first picture is actually, I would say this is a future of HR is, right? As an HR, most of your waking time is spent at work. Might for you, right? Not only for you, because it's always a ripple effect. Happy, most people around you will also be happy. So diversity, if you would see, when I say diversity, there are like women, there are men, different there's diversity, there's happiness, there's success, there's teamwork, and there's joy in the and treat them well enough so they don't want to, right? Okay. For the next slide, I would request you to participate as well in Mentimeter. By now, most of you should know how to get there, but let me just share the link. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing the link for me. I didn't notice. We're sharing the link on the chat. Please feel free to share with us what are your aspirations. It could be your aspiration as an HR leader or a leader in your organization, as an HR professional, or what's your aspiration in your career? What's your dream? What's your goals? And what does ideal looks like to you? Like what Sir Bong said, right? You have to start with an end. So this would be your presentation on what are your aspiration. This would be your goal. Okay, we're seeing be part of change. Wow. Leave a legacy. Be a contributor. Yes, please keep it coming. Effective. Yes. To be a professor. Wow. To be indispensable. Wow. That's amazing. Please do keep it coming. Share with us your aspiration as an HR leader, as a practitioner, a career, your career aspiration. What does your dreams looks like? What's your goal in what you do, right? So share that with us. Engagement, empowering, success, leader, to be my own CEO. Wow, we have business owners here. Engagement, to be an HR leader, successful mentor, be an effective leader. Adaptability, useful, success, effective, engaging mentor, achieving goals, learn skills, be the part of change, be an effective leader or HR. Wow, keep it coming. I'll give you probably one more minute to actually put in. You can put 3 of your aspirations in this slide, so you can, nobody will stop you from sharing what you want or what to have or what to do in the future. And since we're talking about the future of HR, let's share the aspirations that we have. Okay, we're getting a lot of input. And I would say that because of the biggest word I'm seeing now is success. So be an inspiration leader. That would be the top 3 aspirations that I'm seeing. I would say it's the biggest because more people are actually hoping or aspiring for this. So thank you so much for participation. And so we started with the goals do we have or what aspirations do we have. But is there anything that could be challenging, or are there challenges that you might be facing right now, or are there challenges that might be hindering you to get the aspirations that you have? Do share with us as well, like what are the potential either the potential and challenges that you're facing that might be stopping you or hinder from getting to your goals, to your aspiration. Myself, I really salute someone who actually said this, like, every success and every challenges that we might be facing, it's all up to us, right? Unfortunately or fortunately, right? For most of us, I would say it's fortunately, it's all up to us. That means we have a lot of control and influence in order to be successful. So it's within our hands. Our success is within our hands. So we have like both internal and external challenges that we might be facing, fears of skills, which are easily distractions. Yes, these are things that some of these are external, some of these are internal, but at the same time, these are also opportunities for us to on so that we can actually get to that success, to be an inspiration, to be where we want to be in the future, right? So doubt, yan, ito, very internal doubt, right? Self-confidence. These are things that we can develop. The good thing is, like, for example, self-confidence or lack of confidence, right? It's something we are able to address by preparing, planning, and doing all our best to be ready for a presentation or anything else in our life, to be able to be more confident about it. Earlier, right? We have to be resourceful and creative enough to be able to handle all those to whatever comes to our lives, right? Expectations, financial problems, introvert, insecurities, lack of knowledge, lack of opportunities, lack of experience. We feel that lack, unfortunately. But at the same time, when we think of abundance, we're able to see, like, oh, okay, there's actually a lot of experience despite of, or there are a lot of opportunities around this world. And if we come from that abundance mindset, we will see, like, how much is enough or how much more we can have, how much opportunity we have um on a daily basis, right? And if you have this feeling of luck, or if you're coming from a mindset of luck, think again, because our birthright is to be abundant, which is good news, right? Our birthright is to be abundant, right? Just remember that. If if you don't believe in that, try to count how many sands are there in a beach. Even just a 1 meter of a beach. If you can count that sand, then there might be luck. But then, if you can count yourselves, if you can count, and if you can count how many stars do you see on the sky, then that means the world is abundant for us, right? Because there's endless possibilities, there's endless opportunities, endless um things for us. So I just want, I mean, for the HR, we always work with people, right? And I remember this conversation I had with Sir Bong also last week. Like, oh, okay. Um, would you believe, I asked him, would you believe I had this conversation with an HR consultant in Singapore? He's actually creating an association of HR in Asia Pacific. I told him the reason why I love working with HR leaders is because I see the passion in them. And it's not a joke working with people as well, because people would have different experiences, different perspectives. They believe in different things as well. So there's always like this challenges that we would face when we work with people, right? It's all about working with people, passion and purpose, right? I said, and that resonates with me, I said, because I'm a hotelier by profession. As per my profession, I work in the hospitality industry for 15 years, and now 12 years in the training industry. And so like, oh, I think that's really like amazing. That's what I love about it. And then he said, like, okay, let me stop you on that. HR personnel are, they don't really care. Don't really care. And then I was like shocked with that comment, considering he's an HR professional, he's an HR consult, and he said, like, you know, a lot of people in HR are just about ticking the box. It's about transactional and just, I'm just doing my work and not really caring about um, the people, the impact that they create. And so I believe this is an opportunity for us to change that, right? To change that, yes, we care for people, we care for the things that we do and the impact that we wanted to create. In fact, again, I'm going back to the aspiration, right? Like most of the people are looking to success, but what is success to you, right? What is also like, how can you inspire other people's as well, right? Because that's some of the top aspiration that most people have here in this audience. So like, what does it mean to you, right? So in this quote by Betty Bender, she said that when people go to work, they shouldn't have to leave their hearts at home. So that means you're working with human, you're working with people. And so don't expect them to be an accountant. Don't expect them to be an operator. Don't expect them just to be a leader. They are human. They are people. Don't let them leave their hearts at home. And so I would love to share with you a personal photo of me and my clients that I have worked with actually. So when we work, I'm a provider, I'm a consultant, you see here, and this one, I was actually pregnant on this one. So you would see that I've been actually like working with people. Um these are different people from different cultures, different nationalities. And at the same time, you can take away from me that I am also a mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter to my parents, right? So we don't expect people to forget that they're human or there are other roles in life, right? When they go to work. Because again, like I remember this story shared by one of our trainers. Um it was actually like in a workplace where okay, we have to be vulnerable, right? It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay that we undergo some problems as well. Like so what happens is that at work you can be vulnerable. I mean, you share with okay, someone in my family, for example, passed away. And yes, I'm still a leader in this organization, but I'm still processing what happened. I'm still affected with the pass away of my relative. And you cannot say that. But again, the person is being vulnerable enough to admit that something happened in the family, and he or she is still processing that. And so from that, she's actually sharing with the team that I might be like not being my best foot forward right now. It's because of like what happened, and I'm still processing that. And that's okay. That's being human, right? And yet at the same time, the fact that she actually shared that to her team, that also means like she's trying to show up, right? She's trying to show up and to be of her being a leader, but at the time being vulnerable enough as well that what's happening in her personal life. So it's all about how we are also, despite that, it's there's always two faces of a coin, right? So it's all about, yes, being vulnerable enough with what's happening with you, but at the same time, on the other side is that you also have to be accountable with the actions that you take, right? Despite you might have like issues that you're facing personally, um you also have to show up, right, where like wherever you are, right? Despite that, unfortunately, I would have to say the word, uh, shit happens, right? And so it's also about being able to be mindful of how we show up and to be accountable of how we respond to others as well, right? So, and more often than not, it can be actually addressed. Some of the challenges that we face, it's family, personal, or professional. it can be actually addressed a lot with communication. So I would feedback models as communication is actually key to all of this when, when you actually show up. And one of the top problem I would say, not in the workplace, but everywhere you are or everywhere in the world, is really more around communications. And yeah, I actually added up these photos of several ways for you to make a feedback, or these feedback models that you can see on the screen now. Because I remember that conversation with a friend of mine from Indonesia. She messaged me at almost 12 midnight, and she was actually like with me her story, how toxic it is in her workplace. And she was telling me, Marilyn, I've been working in my for the last 11 years. I really appreciate my boss. I really appreciate my work. I do have friends in the company. And at the same time, I also have like the company even provided me with a car, and I'm earning quite well. But at the same time, it's getting more and more toxic within the organization. That's what she told me. I said like, okay, so what do you wanted to do next? And she was thinking of like, what if I just from the company? But at the same time, the challenge is that like at this point in time, right? Pandemic, the um like challenges in the economic condition, she said like it's kind of difficult to look for a new job, right? So that was her sentiment as well. But at the same time, it's kind of painful for her to stay in the company because of the toxic environment that she's facing right now. And if you were in that position, what will you do? Any suggestions from anyone if you were to face such toxic environment? Please type in the chat what's your suggestion in that situation, or probably what I have actually what opinion I've shared with her. Anyone would like to share? Take a rest, like a vacation, leave social medias. Thank you, Shelu. That's we were in Singapore, I think sometime in May when I was in the Philippines. Search for a new job. That's actually her plan, core. Thank you for that. Yeah, pahinga muna, unwind, then back to the game. Thank you, Junel. Junel. Yes, exactly. Any suggestions from anyone? Actually, that's her plan, but she said she wanted to resign. Obviously, at this point in time, she said like it's kind of difficult. What I told her actually is like, you said it's okay because they are even providing a car, and she's kind of used to it. She's doing well. The fact that she's been working there for the last 11 years, right? And so I told her, why don't you search? And since you believe that it's not so easy, why don't you search first before you resign? If you were to resign, and actually try to resolve your issues, because her issues is having toxic relationships or toxic boss, toxic colleagues, and um toxic friends as well in the office. So I said like, is there any way that you can communicate that with your boss, with your colleagues, with your friends within the organization, so you don't have to apply, you don't have um to leave the company, and you'll be also happy within your organization. And that goes back to the earlier aspiration that we have shared, or the first picture I have shared with you. as an HR or even as a leader or as a manager, it's everyone's responsibility to make it a joyful environment for everyone. And again, because we're actually like spending a lot of our wages, it's important that we make that experience for everyone, including ourselves, the best experience we can have. Like, and again, a lot of things can actually be resolved through communications. I'm sure you would agree with that, right? And so I'm sharing this several feedback models I found on the internet, and there's actually more. And basically it's really not, I know it's on the Asian context. It's always difficult to give a feedback, right? But if you have like this model, it will make it clear for you. There's SBI, which is like what I call situation, behavior, and impact. Contextual, it's basically contextualizing what's happening or describing the situation and the behaviors that you're observing and what impact have in your relationship with the person. Yes. Uh Joveline said here, face the issue or communicate and find a solution. And if not, it's time for you to search for a new job. Yes, thank you. That's kind of similar to what I have shared with her as well. So thank you. So I'd like to share again another quote. I'll be sharing quite a lot of quote in this presentation. So according to this, there is no more profitable investment than investing in yourself. It is best investment you can make to improve yourself, to be the best of you, and lets you be able to best serve those around you. And even Sir Bong also highlighted that earlier, right? And the good thing, we're really so lucky in this digital age that there's so much resources everywhere in the world, in the internet, that we can actually find for free. And even this session here, it's also for free. So imagine like how many times if we don't have a budget, I've seen like, that as part of the challenge, having a budget and all those stuff. uh there's actually like a lot of resources around that we can actually for free if we don't have a budget yet. But remember, we have to also change that mindset that because we don't have that or we don't have a budget for that, it's your responsibility to invest in yourself. And I'm not saying that because I'm a training provider, but I'm saying that because I also invest on myself. In fact, I pay like tens and thousands of dollars to have business mentors, coaches, and to join masterminds and communities around the globe to help me serve my clients better as well. Because when we improve, that would also mean that it's also a ripple effect, right? That we also get to not only help ourselves, but also to help us serve our customers better. And so these are some of the proofs that I have done. For sure, Dave Ulrich, right? I had an interview with him as well, around leadership and transformation. And Master is a master in NLP and one of the few people who actually does family constellation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Kevin Harrington, but he's actually the the original person who come up with infomercials. Does anyone know what infomercial is? You can type in the chat box if you know what infomercial is. Ayan. If you're unfamiliar with infomercial, these are like commercials that you would see like during odd times before, where instead of having nothing, yeah, informational commercials, where like they would like sell something, like for example a knife, and buy this for 9.90, you get this and that peeler and all of this stuff. And but wait, there's more. So he's actually creator of infomercials, and he's also the original shark in the it's actually a show where these are investors. Yeah, these are investors who are entrepreneurs as well. And I'm not sure if any one of you knows Bridget Hyacinth. She's kind of famous in LinkedIn for leadership, for AI and all those. These are some of my business mentors, Kane and Alessia. And for sure, you know, Francis Kong as well. I had an interview with him. I really invest a lot on myself. No excuses. I was like so pregnant on this photo. And I was so pregnant as well on this photo. So, and this happens, this one happens at night, and this one happened over a weekend. So no excuses for me. I really invest in myself a lot. And because also I believe in the power of tiny gains. So what does this mean? So every day when you invest in yourself, whether you read some article that will help you or resources that will help you to be a better person or be a better professional, there's also what we call the compounding learning. Yes. And the best part is that when it comes to 1% better every day, when you actually think about it, the compounding learning, right? It's 37.78% of you after a year, right? So always invest in whatever way, whether it's on your in your body or in your soul. Always invest in yourself to be a better version of your day. I actually saw this who is she? I think she's a director of HR in a company here in in Procter and Gamble. Yeah. And she said like 1%, working on my 1% every day. So that's the power of tiny gains. So remember to invest in yourself. So now I'm sharing the 4 pillars of future ready teams. This is actually an excerpt of our organizational development package. So we are talking about the future of HR, and part of um, future or having a future centered HR is to create a future ready teams, right? And why is leadership and organizational development important in what we do? So first of all, um, empowered. We need empowered leadership. And Sir Bong also mentioned that earlier, right? An empowered because I believe that leaders do drive performance and directions for any organization. And he also said that the worst challenge that we have is actually not being able to have the right leaders in our organization, right? If the leaders are not ready or not doing their part, then that's gonna be like difficult, right? So it's very important that we empower our leaders and we train or develop our leaders within the organization. And they must be competent enough to inspire and engage the team. I remember earlier in your answers during the aspiration, part of what you aspire organization is to have engaged team, right? So I want to share with you a story as well that was shared by Velasco. Um, she's one of the persons I interviewed from the US. And she actually, oh, you are in Calabar zone, so most of you are working in the manufacturing space, right? So you must have TQM, Total Quality Management. So Marsha is actually like she mentioned to me, "Oh, I'll be willing to go to Asia only if I can get paid for 25,000 US dollars in a day." So that's how she is paid as a consultant, and work with like Fortune 500 companies. And it's interesting about talking about the empowering leaders, is that like she had this meeting with a Fortune 500 company, and in that table it was an extended group of leaders within the organization. So there was 17 people in that meeting. And then so it was an extended leadership like training that she did. And then she asked the leaders within those group, how many employees do you have in this organization? And then they said, we have over 500 employees. And then and how many leaders do you have in your organization? And then we were like, that's kind of strange question, right? Because we are just small here. So there's only 17. Remember, there's only 17 people in that group. And then she said like, so what are you doing? That next question. And they like, it was like a strange question once again, right? And then she said like, what kind of question is that, right? And so she said like, I mean, we have 17 leaders here, and your purpose as a leader is to be able to create more leaders. So what are you doing? So as a leader, your main duty or your main responsibility is to train more leaders or to create more leaders. And that's how important empowering leadership is, or empowered leadership is in a future ready team. And then we have the organizational alignment. So this is actually the theme of our talk today. So when it comes to organizational alignment, it has to be a continuous process of change to improve organizational competitiveness, productivity, and sustainability, right? And I remember this conversation I had with Dave Ulrich during my interview, and she asked me, "Would want to look? I will make you look kind of strange doing this." So I'm sure you have seen that as well in her interviews or in some of his videos. And if you haven't watched that interview I had with Dave Ulrich, feel free to do so. I'll be sharing my links later on so that you can actually watch that interview. And he mentioned that how it will work hand in hand, and how like organizational alignment is important in order for a company to stay competitive, productive, and sustainable. So he was like doing this, actually the organization, and these are the people here. And these people and leaders are actually like held by the leaders. So the leader, the organization, the people has to work together. So, ayan, ganyan, ganyan. Fingers, yung hand, so that it flows and there's an alignment. And as an HR personnel, it's your responsibility to facilitate that. That's what he told me. As an HR personnel, it's your responsibility to help the leaders, the people in the organization to have an alignment in order to reach that success. So the third one is adaptability and agility. It's engaging the right people in the right culture, strengthens the organizational for VUCA with the help of learning and organizational development. And I will not, I'm not sure, will you be agreeing to me if I say that, we've heard a lot this as a trend words in the last, especially last 2.5 years, right? Around adaptability and agility. Would you say yes if you've been hearing that in the last 2.5 years? Adaptability and agility. Yes. I'm seeing yes here in the chat. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Noy. Jovelyn, yes. Amy, yes. Yeah. And it's interesting that this presentation I have actually prepared before the COVID even hits, right? And again, when we say adaptability and agility, it's not really just the flexibility, but fast. Sabi nga din ni Sir Bong kanina, right, in his talk, how fast will you respond to those disasters or even the changes that are happening around you? So you have to be adaptable enough and agile to be able to address all those challenges that comes your way, right? And that requires adaptability and agility because otherwise you will not be able to create that success or that sustainability within the organization. So you have to be adaptable. And in order to do that, yes daw, sabi ni Steph. Ayun. So, in order for you to be able to do that, to be open or to embrace changes that are happening in your life, in your career, right? And that would require you to learn, to be creative, innovative, and yeah, continuous learning is part of doing so. And last but not the least is driving outcomes. In my intro, we've made mention that we've been driving outcomes for our customers because we co-create, contextual, and customize a lot of our programs. And reason why we're getting a lot of positive response and outcomes for our customers is like whatever I said in the first three, it's important that you'll be able to connect and bring out the best of a diverse, multi-generation workforce and foster relationship based on treasuring business results, right? So what does this right? We've been hearing a lot uh, about DI. Does anyone know what does it DEI? We've been hearing of about DEI, millennials, because that's the that's say the highest percentage of of the generations nowadays, right? So and again, that's being able to leverage on the diversity, di ba? Kaya sabi ko earlier in the photo that in the first slide is yung they are diverse, they having fun. And it's not about having like a mix of multi-generation workforce or having different age. Yes, diversity, equity, and inclusions as shared values. And it's important not only because there's a diversity of say age, gender, culture, nationality, probably even of bias and beliefs and perspectives from the people in your workplace. But when you're not, I would say like when there's like different perspectives within the organization, it actually creates more ideas, more options, more potentials for everyone, right? Are there any more? I think I've been talking a lot for the last 5 minutes before I proceed and explain the next slide. Are there any questions or anything that you'd like to share based on what I have shared so far? Any questions or you still want me to continue? Hopefully hindi pa kayo nakadaldalan ko. Any questions?
Um,
Any reactions?
yeah, there are none so far, ma'am. No questions so far, ma'am.
Okay, great, great. So I'll just continue on. So for me, what are the keys of growth in the organization? Because when we talk about the future ready HR or of an organization. And when we talk about growth, right, it comprises of several things, right? And that part of that is leadership, the people, and the of course the processes, the plans. I was talking about the strategic plans earlier. Um, and in I would share like I'm sharing like what are actually the ways to be able to grow as as a person but more of as an organization, as a business, right? You have to put in the right people in the right seat that are focused on key areas. I mean, there are people here from the recruitment side, or I mean like for HR there are, I think there are also people here who are actually doing everything, right? Yung mga generalists, or like for some organizations where they only have HR personnel. Ayan, so you have to like also do the recruitment yourself. So it's all about having the right seat that are focused on key areas, which include skills, knowledge, behaviors, and results in the organization. And of course, we also have company culture. Okay, Jarina, are you like, do you want to ask a question? Are you raising your hand?
Hello, Ma'am Marilyn. Yes, I do want to ask a question. You did
Okay.
mention about the right people in the right seat.
Yeah.
Now, for the right people in the right seat, what qualities, or based on your experience and
Mhm.
from the experiences of others, what
Mm-mm.
qualities do you seek and how do you ensure that you get the right people in the right seat?
Later on, I will also discuss that around recruitment. But partly, if I would answer that question, if I were to hire anyone in my organization, the first thing that I look for is the attitude of the person, their aspirations, find out their aspirations and their core values, and if it's in alignment with us. So there's really no like one answer to that question, because it depends on like what company culture do you have, what's the goal of your organization, and what guidance do you need from that person. So that will all like depend. But the short answer again is, of course, I would want to like know how they would respond to my questions, how would they work with me, what's the attitude like, because to be exact, it's easier to like work with people who already had that drive, who already had that attitude that you would want to see in it's easier um to actually train skills rather than behaviors. uh like having said that, right? And having that leadership skills as well, from those applicants that you would want to like work with, right? Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am Marilyn.
Okay, thank you, Jarina, for that question. So next to that is company culture. And that's also the reason why I made mention earlier, the right people have that core values, which is in alignment with your organization. Because sometimes when our core values is not in alignment with the companies, it's quite difficult. Some people actually leave their companies. Core value of the company is not in alignment with their core values. And sometimes when our values is being like there are values that are important to us, that is being violated by our organization, then that would like I cannot stay here, those kind of things. So um that's also important to company culture. I know that company culture actually also takes time to build, to improve. It's a continuous process that we develop, like what do we want to see in this organization, what kind of values do we want to see, in order for us to have that um amazing culture where everyone would have fun in this organization, 'di ba? Especially those for in the offices of like things like Microsoft, Google, and Facebook, right? They have really very nice offices that uh they have, and they incorporate fun within the offices that they work in. So, and that's part of their culture as well, having that value of, okay, I wanted to have fun in the office, or I have people are allowed to actually relax or be in an environment where it's more relaxing for them to like get those ideas, or even like casual conversation. Believe it or not, sometimes some of the amazing ideas that we can actually have or get um is inspired in the pantry or in a like in a casual conversation rather than in an office meeting. So that's for company culture. We also have strategic planning, and that's what you have been discussing earlier in the question that Jarina also raised in the earlier session. So it's about like effective growth planning and processes that that you will be able to deliver in a tangible strategy, because that's also something which I've been always hearing in my conversation with like leaders around the globe. Sometimes they would have like plans once a year, but then they forget about those plans until they will have a strategic plan the following year, right? Which is kind of inefficient, I would say. And that's the reason why we need strategies with effective and efficient processes to grow a business supported by leadership team. And it's important that you get to like have like regular check-in on what's happening. Yes, we have strategic plans in place, but how are you executing that, right? How are you making that into a reality? And again, going back to the conversation we had earlier with that I've shared with you with another HR consultant. In fact, had this conversation with Sir Bong. It's fortunate that he confirmed that it's true and that he had this conversation with the general manager of a hotel saying that, oh, it's true, unfortunately. And the GM of a hotel I get to speak with said like HR are so inhuman. Wow. Okay, that's let's prove it. Let's prove wrong, right? So, and that's also the importance customer centricity, right? Whether it's an external or internal customer, everyone is our customer, right? Um, this is also like one of the factors in what we do, having like, over 15 years of experience in some of the biggest brand in the hotel industry. So I believe that this is important, customer centricity, and that's the reason also we are able to create a lot of outcomes, because we believe in co-creating, contextualizing, and customizing the programs. And that's about customer centricity, right? You do things that people can actually apply in their life or in their workplace. And that's really important. That also means the same in your organizations or in your company. It's not enough that you do like a once a year performance appraisal. Some of the companies will even do their survey, I don't know, once or twice, or every once a year, or every 2 years. In your organization, every the surveys, like how do you call that? Is it employee survey? Every how often do you do that survey? Feel free to put in the chat or raise your hand, share with us. How do you do that in your organization? Every quarter. Wow. What which company are you working with, Jarina? That's great. Like tell them here that employee engagement survey. Okay. Employee engagement survey on a quarterly basis. Yes, written via Google Forms. Okay. Every 3 years. Oh, we're getting like you see the range. There's we have like yearly and we have every 3 years via consulting. Wow, that's like yes, same every 3 years. Wow. And how effective it is for your actually do that. Are okay. Huge. Oh, yes, yes. And as I'm sure people or people here from are all the attendees from HR worldwide survey. We get to know what we're doing wrong and what we should keep doing right. Wow. Okay. Yes, that's the important thing for surveys, finding out like what could be the challenge or like the again mistakes that are possible or possibly happening in your organization and how can you make it right. Yes, that's good. At least it's good that we have a range here from a quarterly to even every after 3 years. But the more important thing is like speaking of customer centricity especially is that it doesn't matter how often you do the survey, but it's really more of like what are you doing after receiving that survey as well, or in between, what are you doing in between the survey and after the survey, right? Because important that not only that you're listening or conducting all this survey, it's also like how are you listening and what are you doing after getting all these outcomes from this survey, right? How taking action from those feedback and comments? And are you even getting an honest feedback or answers from that survey, right? And that's where important that as an HR personnel or as a leader, that we have that continuous or um, a conversation with our leaders, with our teams, because through that conversation we also get to learn what are they feeling, what's happening in the organization, what could be the challenges that they are facing right now, and how can we actually make it right again, right? We make sure that we make the surveys anonymous to avoid bias, right? Oh, that's good. So at least, there are ways to do that, right? Or to hear, to listen, to know, and most importantly, how are we taking action out of that? And I remember this event that I have attended, and that was the comment of some of them. It's like, okay, we're doing this once a year or every so often, but like, what are we doing after that or in between that, right? So that's more important than having the survey. So, and the last one is execution excellence. Since a lot of you are of our zone from manufacturing, I would say, have you heard this book called the Four Discipline of Execution? Anyone who heard or read that? Yes, Shelu, can you share it with us? Would you like to? turn off your mic. I mean, speaking of execution excellent, it's really like the capability of the organization need as a combination that drives growth and performance, right? But I actually not read but actually to listen to this audiobook on four disciplines of execution. And so I would say that it's really like a lot to do with the execution excellence as well, right? So would you like to share what's your takeaway, Shelu, from that 4DX? Or anyone else who've actually read or heard about that book? May I speak? Oh, yes, please. Can we allow Shelu to actually speak and share her take on the 4DX, speaking of execution excellence?
Hello, Ma'am Shalu. Please raise your hand so that I can see you.
Shelu, please raise your hand so we can see you and unmute you.
You hear me, Ma'am Marilyn?
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
please go ahead.
Sorry. So this for DX, or this what we call for discipline of execution, this is actually a new approach that we are applying to our team.
Congratulations.
Because this is actually what do you call it, or how would I explain it? Very focus, laser focus on what we would like to achieve in our team. So this includes focusing on our widely important goal. We
Yes,
also need to act on the lead measures
yes.
for while our goal. There should be just one main goal, and you should have at least two sub goals in order for you to achieve your team goal. So
Mhm,
that's what the second discipline. And then the third one is keep a compelling board,
mhm,
meaning to say, this is where people engage, or the team engage. They have like a scoreboard, like in a basketball team. You see the score of the teams that are playing. So for example, team A has the score for 45 points, and then the others. So you would know if you are winning or losing. So that's the third discipline. And then the fourth one is create a cadence of accountability. So meaning to say, you are assigning, or someone has the ability of each goal, or if each action plan that you have for that specific goal that you are aiming.
Wow, thank you so much for helping me in this presentation, Shelu. That allowed me to take a drink as well. Thank you so much for explaining the 4DX. And again, I mean, this is not something I personally do, but when I read, or I mean, I listened to that book, I said like, oh, this is really actually an amazing um tool that you can make of. And how are you progressing, Shelu? When did you actually started doing or using this tool?
We started way back December. Actually, that's the plan when
Yes.
we started to um check all of those things that we have to do in that particular month. And then we started to show this to our team on the first part of our strategic plan.
Wow, that's great. Congratulations to your team. And are you
Thank you.
seeing like results already? Like I mean, it's been over 6 months for sure you are.
Yes, so far we have achieved some of our sub goals.
Mhm,
So a specific timeline as well, and a specific average goal, or like a score that we need to aim. Because we are actually a company which we aim in profit. So
mhm.
meaning say we are in monetary So
Right.
we set a specific amount
Mm,
that we
mm,
need to aim for example, for this quarter,
mm.
and then if we are aiming it. So if it's not, we need to go back to the action plan that we created so we can change it, and then we'll go to the first cadence, or the first discipline.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Shelu. And that's really an actual case study because they're already using it. Thank you so much for sharing, Shelu. And just probably to add more to what she has shared, right? Again, like we all understand there's always what we call the whirlwind, or these are the operational and other work that we actually do, and the discipline of focus, which Shelu shared, is actually a widely important goal, while you're actually spending at least 80% of your time in the whirlwind, or the usual operational and transactional work that you're actually having on a daily basis, I would say. And also when she said about the lead measure, it's again like lead measure and lag measures, right? There's two things that we consider when we have these goals, especially if we have to in this book, they talk about very specific goals, as in like you have to be specific when it comes to when you'd like to achieve it, why you'd like to achieve it, everything as specific as possible, right? And a very simple example of this measuring between your lead and your lead measure or lag measures, because most of the time we talk about the lag measures, and the easiest example for them is the weight loss. So sometimes it's so annoying that after that, which is our lead measures actually, sometimes like when we actually look at our lag measures, it's sometimes disappointing, right? Because it takes time to achieve it. But at the same time, that's something that is kind of difficult to influence, right? And that's the reason why they were saying that you have to focus a lot on the lead measure. And that's why, as Shelu mentioned, there's like what they call the scoreboard that they have, right? There are like lead measures that you can actually influence. So you cannot control how much weight you will lose, but you can control what will you do to lose that weight, right? You have to diet, you have to exercise, and all those stuff. And the more you do that, sharing about execution excellence, or 4DX. This is what we have mentioned as summarized by Shelu as well. Discipline of focus, discipline of leverage, engagement, and of course, and most importantly, also what I've mentioned in the second slide around aspiration, second and third slide, that the best part is we can actually have the most control of ourselves. So which means that we can influence the changes that we wanted to have and make. So what's the connection of all the things that I've shared with you with the future of HR? Like for this, I will give like example mainly in the recruitment, employee engagement, learning and development. Though a lot of my focus with my work is around learning and development, I also had like quite a lot of conversations around this. Like some of the examples I'd like to share. I've actually was just looking at this, and it is a publication, and according to, I hope I remember her name correctly, Mency, from the Philippine HR group, and the sharing her sentiments about how difficult it is to recruit. And I love this answer from Jamie, where it's no longer in the employer's market due to shift has changed in the employee's preference and priorities. So I'm really glad. I really like her answer kasi she already like identified a lot of the changes that happened, what she was referring to. But if there's anyone here who would like to share in the chat, what else are you observing in terms of the what has changed in the recruitment, especially for those who are new? Please feel free to share your insights, your experience, and on recruitment. But I have a photo of these or a screenshot of Jamie's answer because I felt like, oh, this is almost everything that you have to look into now when it comes to recruitment, right? So, but any lessons or any like shift in this that you believe has been, shifted or has changed in the past, feel free to share with us. And this is another case. I mentioned to you that I actually invest a lot on myself, including in my community. So these are some of my uh masterminders, ayan, nilagay niyan. I've been wondering what kind of questions been set during the interview in order to uh, engage loyalty and responsible candidate. Technical questions pertaining to industry is not an issue. I believe Marcos is actually an owner of a company or a head of a company. So my answer to him, I said it's a very interesting question. Would anyone guess why I said it's a very interesting in the chat? Why I mentioned that his question is very interesting. What kind of question does he has to ask and in order to find that leads to the right answer? I just read yesterday an article by Harvard Business the recruiter is asking the wrong questions, which is the unfortunate truth. Actually around stop eliminating perfectly good candidates by asking the wrong questions. And that's the reason why I said it is a very interesting question, is because he's asking for loyalty and the person has not even worked. And what does loyalty means to you? Because I have observed that, like, I worked in a company where like people would actually start their career in the same company So, but what's loyalty anyway, right? Sometimes it's not really being loyal to the company by saying that you're loyal. It's really what are you doing while you are in the company, right? So for me, it's the second is actually like more of loyalty for me because that's how I am. I mean, at least when I work in the company until my last day, I have to fulfill um my duties in the organization because there are people who's been staying in the company. I've seen so many. that it disappoints me that they're staying in the company for a long time, but there are times that, are they really loyal? Are they doing the right things? You would see them like would gossip around, would uh get stuff from others. I don't think we can call that loyal employees either, right? That's a very interesting question. But my answer to him is that probably the following question would help. It's just a suggestion like to find out how you can actually make that person to be loyal in your organization. So, of course, finding out more about the person, like what in the organization, why they stay loyal to the organization, what are their core values, and again, that is communicated as well to this organization, and how can you how can the organization contribute to your growth as well. If you are able to get those information and at the same time deliver that, because again, there's two face of the coin, right? It's all about like finding out and also also delivering it, right? I said like I would say that there will be high chances of loyalty. And again, but as we all know, especially for those who are in recruitment here, that there's both intrinsic and extrinsic factor why people leave, right? And also the culture of the organization, the leaders, the teamwork happening within the organization would actually create factors around that. But in one of the sessions that we have run around leadership and career top three opportunities that most people are looking for in an organization, if there's career development, if there's leader development, and if there's learning and development. This is the top three. So next is employee engagement, right? I read that they said that 85% of employees are not engaged in the workplace. And also the effect of it in the organization. So low employee engagement cost companies $450 billion each year. Wow, that's a lot of lost, right? Because of the lack of employee engagement. And companies with high engagement are 20% more profitable. So again, there's both problem or challenges and opportunities when it comes to employee engagement. If you can share with us in the chat, what are you doing in order to create that employee engagement within your organization? And while you're doing that, just chime in on the chat on what you do in order to create, to increase employee engagement in your organization. I'd like to actually read this definition of what employee engagement. It's actually an extent to which employee feel passionate about their jobs, are committed to the organization, and put discretionary effort into their work. So employee engagement involve activities from setting tasks to bringing your employees to a journey without they will learn, grow, and feel that they belong. So it starts actually from the hiring process, right? So Jarina said that they create engagement programs every month, as simple as free lunch or employee appreciation day. Wow, thank you. Anyone else running HR or engaging your employees? Because actually, like from the hiring process, that's also like giving that experience and ability to engage employees aside from the what Jarina has shared, that there will be like monthly activities or whatnot. And there's, oh, for Nomi, they have weekly retirement or at least an hour to rest and get them be involved in the company activities. And again, that's one of the silver linings as well, in during the pandemic, right? Giving a lot of importance on rest, well-being, health of our employees. So, and these are some of the ways that we can actually improve engagement. And on a general perspective, I would say trust and relationship within the organization, whether it like, spending time together, like gamification to build trust and relationships, collaboration within your team could be respecting the diversity, equity, and inclusions within teams. It can be breaking silos by leveraging on each other's strengths, and it can be making the workplace as joyful as possible, since again we spend so much of our time at work. Some of the things that were actually shared by Jarina, and probably ways to like train, because employee engagement is not only just the games, the food that you give to your team, but it's really about building that relationship from the hiring to their journey within your organization. And I know like some organization who are in fact like even after retirement, they are doing something in order to um, keep the employees engaged, or to help and support their employees after employment. So that's really encouraging, right? And that's on top of the creative ways of having training, having summits, or having similar workshops, right? Are like some of the ways that we can actually like encourage. Oh, okay. Okay. Our employee engagement. And I believe this is my last slide, and development, where I have so many bullet points because again, like I said, a lot of my work is around this. So basically, foremost, organization not being able to communicate why are you sending them for the program, and what is expected of them as well after the program. And peer-to-peer learning, this is also one way of doing so, having peer-to-peer learning activities similar to this, and leveraging on technology guided learning. I have experienced recently an example of blended learning. It's a productivity certificate program I've attended, where there's live session, there's assist, as well as we have like one-on-one coach that we do, and we have like a WhatsApp group to encourage more of that. And that's really a great experience of what blended learning is. And I believe it's important as well for the follow through. Yeah, encouraging application of learning through gamification and allowing people or the learners to reflect, and most importantly, follow through and support from both HR and leaders as well. So I think that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me and for joining me, participating in this session. And this is also an invitation to stay connected with me. I have shared my links here, which I share on the chat as well later on. Okay, let me copy that to share on the link.
A lot of us have learned a lot. Ngayon, we are open questions. If any of you have any questions that you would like to ask our wonderful speaker for this afternoon, please just raise your hand and we can ask.
And while thinking of questions, for those who are still thinking of what questions they would like to ask, I will appreciate as well your feedback. I know Neddy has arranged a feedback form for you, but if while we're still in the session, if you can like spend like 1 to 2 minutes to share your feedback, I will appreciate it. Me, what's
Yes,
your
we
question?
have a question, ma'am. With regards to
Mm-mm.
as mentioned earlier, we have our weekly retreats. However, there are some employees who are already matagal na po, no, with the company. However, they aren't participative with the activities that we are doing.
Mm-hmm.
What proper action should we do with, how can we engage them with activities or any, for them to be participative?
I mean, that's how humans work, right? You cannot really more often than that. But probably one way of doing so is really like explaining or like selling it to them. Like in my learning methods, right? It's really about understanding the needs of the team. So what do they want to see? What do they have to have for them to actually join and participate in those activities that we have organized for them? Maybe just maybe they might, they might not find it valuable for themselves, and that's the reason why they might not be participating to that employee engagement. For us to facilitate and in order for them to participate, right? And the second thing, of course, is to sell that before you even have that activity. You communicate it, why this program, why is this important for you, why you should participate in this program, and what can it do for you, right? Yeah, so that's I hope that helps.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have any other questions from our audiences from Facebook, our comment section there, or via Google Forms attendance?
Wala. As of the moment, ma'am, we don't have any questions for the speaker. I think kasi medyo talagang napaliwanag na maigi ng ating speaker ang kanyang presentation this afternoon. That's why walang masyadong question ang ating mga participant. And because of that, syempre alam naman natin yung oras ng ating webinar ay medyo siesta time ng ating mga participant.
Have
Ma'am
shared.
Serena? Ma'am Serena, can you please share our appreciation for Ma'am Marylen?
Hold on for a second. There you go. Of course, Group Incorporated presents this certificate of appreciation to our wonderful speaker, Ma'am Marylen Ramos-Velasco, for sharing her invaluable knowledge and expertise to 4 o'clock p.m. given this 20th day of August. And muli, maraming salamat po talaga HR Calabarzon Group on behalf of our audiences from Facebook Live to our Zoom participants. We surely learned a lot. And now a word, of course, from herself. Ayan, mukhang merong technical issue. Ayan.
Yes, ma'am. Marami pong salamat muli sa ating speaker, sa ating participant, sa ating 100 plus participant this afternoon. At syempre kung may picture taking kay Sir Bong, meron ding picture taking kay Ma'am Marylen as a remembrance for being a part of second back-to-back anniversary special of HR Calabarzon's HR E-Knowledge. Tama po ba? So guys, can we please open our video? Pagpasensyahan nyo na ako, talaga namang I'm struggling with internet connection and I'm actually outside of the house.
Okay, so gandang mga mukha ng mga participants natin, di ba? Naomi, would you care to leave